So today we got Battlefront 1 in 2025. 10 years after the game's release in 2015. So how is it these days? Do people still play online? What's the situation? Well, we're going to talk about all of that in today's video. If you remember, it was probably like 2021 or 2022 whenever I talked about this game. I said that Battlefront 1 still had a lot of players, and you could still find 40-player matches, no problem, without any issues, and it was pretty strong community after all these years. But I think when I talked about it last year, I started to notice that the player count was declining drastically compared to just a couple years before, and now it's sad. It's pretty much a shell of its former self. Now, that's not to be unexpected for a 10-year-old game. Again, this game is 10 years old. I know a lot of people feel super old me saying that right now, but it's the truth, right? A decade. And especially since we had a sequel come out after, we had Star Wars Battlefront 2, which generally was received more positively, was a lot more popular, had a lot more players, and all that. Obviously, once that game came out, or at least maybe not when it came out, because at the time it did have a lot of negative reception when it came to loot boxes and everything. But once the game found its footing, once it had all those content drops over the year or two after release, people just gravitated towards Battlefront 2 and kind of left Battlefront 1 behind. I noticed, right when Battlefront 2 was starting to get really popular, nobody was playing 1 anymore. And, for good reason, because 2 just has a lot more maps, a lot more content. It obviously has more eras. It has 3 eras, and this game only has 1, the Galactic Civil War era. And also a lot of the maps and a lot of the content even got ported over to Battlefront 2. Not all of it, but a good chunk of it. So the replayability just wasn't there for many people, obviously, since there really isn't much going for it these days. So what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, on PC, don't even bother. It's completely dead. It's been that way for a couple of years, but it was still going strong on Xbox and especially PlayStation. But now, even on consoles, there really isn't a whole lot. There's not a lot of players. There's not a lot of matches that you can find. 40-player matches are just out the window. Don't even think about getting those anymore. They don't exist, sadly. So, that's kind of a shame, because that was obviously the core Battlefront experience was those large 40-player battles that you can have. Sadly, you can't really do that anymore in 2025. There are still people that play Blast, which is the 6v6 mode that this game had to offer, which includes just straight team deathmatch, capture the flag, and a couple other game modes that are kind of mixed together in one playlist. I notice most of the time, though, I'm playing capture the flag, or whatever it's called. I think it's called Cargo in this game. And the maps are just pretty much like the regular big maps, just, cut and put into a certain size and just put in there. It's nothing special. It's not bad, but obviously you don't really play Battlefront for that. Most of the people who played Blast, who played 6v6 in Battlefront 1 or even Battlefront 2, they played it so they can farm XP and they can grind, not because they actually preferred it and thought it was better than Supremacy and, whatever other 40-player modes that they had. So, yeah, that's when we're talking about the player base, that's how it is. So, for that reason alone, I can't really recommend that you play it in 2025, except for me, I didn't actually own the Xbox version of the game. I had it back in the day on PS4, but I never actually had the Xbox version. But since I have Game Pass Ultimate, I can just play it that way. So if you have Game Pass Ultimate, or you have an EA Play subscription, you can play it essentially for free, because you don't have to pay anything more. It's already part of the subscription that you're already paying for. So for that reason, it can't hurt to install it and check it out. Like I said, on PC, don't even bother, because there's just nothing at all. So you'll just waste time installing it and trying to get it going, only for you to get absolutely jack shit. So be mindful of that. But for Xbox and PlayStation, games do still exist. You'll still find them. But this game is clearly on its last legs. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 2-3 years, EA announces that they are shutting down the servers for Battlefront 1. That's where I kind of see things going in the not-too-distant future, sadly. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. So yeah, I guess for that reason alone, I can't really recommend that you play it in 2025. But even just comparing it to Battlefront 2 just has so much more to offer for you that I would just say stick with that and don't bother with the first game. I mean, graphically, it all holds up pretty well. It still looks good for a 2015 game. It plays pretty good. The gameplay is still a lot of fun. If you can actually get players in there, like that's the thing. A lot of the time when I say this game is not worth playing, a lot of people who are fans of it get really angry because they think that I'm leaving a negative review for the game or saying that it sucks. No, I liked Battlefront 1. I put a lot of time into it and I thought it was actually pretty good. It was a good game. But again, we're talking about 2025. We're not talking about Battlefront 1 in 2015. We're talking about it now, 10 years later. So that's just the nature of it, is that there are a lot of games, even like games that I consider among the greatest of all time, like the 2004 Battlefront 1, which I'd say that one actually is worth playing more than this one, because at least that has single-player offline content, which this game you can play offline against bots, but it's just, the bots aren't really that good, and you're really not going to have that much fun. It doesn't have a single-player campaign like Battlefront 2 does, with Iden Versio and all that shit, so there really isn't much value that this game has outside of the online multiplayer. So I can't think of any way to really say, yeah, go for it, try playing it in 2020, because you're not going to enjoy yourself. It's going to be just a complete waste of time. Sadly, I don't want it to be that way. Part of me wants to just tell people to play it so that it gets more players, and that, but I don't have that much influence. I'm a pretty small channel. I can't single-handedly revive a dead game from having no players to having 1,000 or even just a couple, just enough to have a 40-player server going. I mean, it would be fun if I could do that, but no. And also, even if there were still people playing, the experience that I had, even with the few people I was able to get playing this year, just in general, the people who still play, though, they're really good at the game because they played it back in the day and they still play it to this day. So they know everything. They know the map layout. They're really good with the guns and everything. That as a new player, it's really hard to come in and actually be good and be competitive. If not for skill, also for the leveling up and the cards, and because that they had the card system in Battlefront 1 where you can, it's pretty much just like a perk system, but as you level up, you get more of them and you get more powerful ones. So if someone's really, really high level, chances are they have just a better advantage view because they have more perks and abilities to be able to go against you. And you starting at level 1, obviously you have 0. And I remember starting from level 1, trying to unlock the jetpack because everyone's flying around with the goddamn jetpack. It's so annoying trying to shoot people and they're just flying everywhere. It's worse than Advanced Warfare. Holy shit. It took me a while to get that unlocked. So, yeah, it's a bit of a grind for a game that has nobody on. I can't, in good conscience, recommend that anybody play it, especially a new player. If you're an old player that already has all that shit, then, I mean, it can't hurt to just, install it and take a look and, to try to see if you can get some games going. But just warning you, you're not going to get any 40-player matches, which is, kind of sucks, but that's just the way it is. Especially for a decade-old game such as this one. So, yeah, that's Battlefront 1 in 2025. Let me know in the comment section if you played this game back in the day, and what are some of your favorite memories playing this game.